If you didn't tune into Bungie's dev stream the other day, you might have missed hearing all about the new exotic weapons we're getting in episode Heresy, which is right around the corner. Today we'll be talking about those exotics, and spoiler alert, they are weird AF. One in their design. What is this?
Is that a gun?
What am I looking at? And the other for how it behaves. We'll go over everything we know about them so far, how they work, some small details you may have missed from the stream, some weird secret stuff you may have noticed, and then at the end of the video, I'll give you a short list of exotic armor pieces that you should try pairing with these new exotic weapons when we get them in Heresy, and why I think they'll be a good combo. Okay, starting with the Barrow-Dyad, a weird looking strand SMG that I can't help but admit that I really like the design of. Stat-wise, we can see from the Bungie stream that it's a 22 impact SMG with a 720 RPM, meaning that it's likely an aggressive frame SMG and should have a similar feel as Teraba or maybe the Ikelos SMG. The intrinsic trait is panic response. This weapon generates blight as it deals damage. While not firing, blight depletes and the magazine is gradually refilled. Reload the weapon to convert stored blight into blighted seekers. In short, take a look right here. As you deal damage with the gun, you slowly build up this blight meter. Then when you activate a special reload, aka by holding down whatever your reload button is, you can then release your blighted seekers at the enemy. Yeah, the weapon will auto reload itself rather quickly when you're not shooting it, which is cool, but remember that when that is going on, it means your blight meter is actively going down. A few things to take note of. First, you clearly don't have to have a full blight meter before activating the special reload feature. A lot of the time, the Bungie dev showing off the gun only filled up their blight meter by about a third or so before activating the unique reload and then firing the blight rounds. If you also pause the footage, you'll notice that the weapon's unique crosshair shows you how many blighted seekers you're about to fire at the enemy, as well as the max number you can fire overall, which appears to be 6. Slowing down some of the footage, it looks like these blight seekers track pretty damn aggressively toward nearby targets. In short, you probably don't really need to worry as much about whiffing your precious blight rounds when the time comes. And those blight rounds seem pretty strong, by the way. The following numbers are kind of rough, so bear with me. At one point, we see an enemy getting shot showing damage numbers of 669 for a body shot and 1173 for a crit. The blight rounds then get activated and connect for 3930 damage. A few moments later, a yellow bar thrall gets shot with a blight round for 2958 damage, and then takes regular damage for 503. In short, we got two different moments here that show us that the damage buff on the blight round clocks in at a beefy plus 488% damage, give or take. Not too bad, gotta tell you. Oh, and side note, by the way, what I'm about to share is only a theory and may or may not be correct. Do not quote me on this. Damage on the blighted rounds may go up if you connect with more of one of them in a row. Out of all the times whoever at Bungie was showcasing the weapon, they fired only 1 or 2 blight rounds about 99% of the time when using the gun. One of the rare times they didn't fire so few, there were 3 damage numbers on the screen briefly, one of them being a bit higher than the other 2. That could mean that the more blight rounds you connect with, the stronger they become, or it could be something else going on. I'd say that's probably only like 10% chance that it's a thing. It's probably just a weird damage number that showed up from something else going on. I kind of wish we had more gameplay to study and review, but then again, the gameplay we already got was,
Here we go. Yep. So we got some gameplay of this right now, actually.
Yes. So, but you can also see it.
Just juking everything. The Grim is a paid actor, obviously.
But yeah, as soon as we get our hands on the weapon, I'll be sure to either confirm or deny that theory. Jumping back a little bit, the SMG's unique weapon trait is Taken Divergence. Hitting 3 different targets generates a large amount of blight. Blighted seekers bore through targets. As you can tell, during most of the gameplay footage, the blight meter builds up very slowly, but when you damage 3 different targets, the meter jumps up a ton, which, if you think about it, not so much an incentive, but more like a requirement if you want to build that meter very quickly, because again, shooting just 1 target at a time, very slow build up on that blight meter. 2 more things to mention about this exotic for right now. Thing number 1, Bungie mentioned specifically on stream that this is not a weapon of sorrow. If you didn't know, weapons of sorrow are weapons that have somehow been modified or infused with hive magic. Weapons of sorrow include Thorn, Necrochasm, Touch of Malice, and Osteostriga. Because this new exotic is not a weapon of sorrow, that means it won't get that sweet AE bonus from the Necrotic Grip Gauntlets, which I know is something that you all care greatly about. Thing number 2, the Bungie devs started to mention that the weapon may have additional surprises and then decided to quickly shut up and not say anything else on that subject.
This thing has a lot of surprises. I don't know where.
We can leave it there.
Let's just leave it.
I like that. Okay.
Basically, your guess is as good as mine. One odd thing in particular that was never pointed out or talked about happened when Bungie hovered hovered over the taken Divergence weapon trait, and we got some very random text that said, "This weapon resonates with your choices." I currently have very few theories as to what that means. Because we'll be spending some time in the Dreadnought, this could somehow be tied to our actions in the new activity. At one point during the Bungie stream, they whipped out their ghost to reveal a few active modifiers, one of which just blatantly says, "Within the Dreadnought, there are numerous secrets to be found." This might be one of those things where the exotic can somehow let you uniquely interact with the environment to let you uncover secret stuff in the Dreadnought. Totally unsure, time will tell. Again, I'll give you a few general exotic pairings and light loadout recommendations a bit later, but for now, why don't we move on to the new Season Pass weapon, Loadstar. It might not look very weird, actually I think the design is kind of sick, but it sure as hell ain't normal because Loadstar is the game's first ever primary ammo trace rifle. Perk-wise, we have Starlight Beam. This weapon fires a low-intensity arc beam with enhanced stability and accuracy. We also got Arc Alignment. Dealing arc damage from any source aligns the battery's coils. When alignment is complete, hold down the reload button to disengage the safety and enable hip-fired Starlight Beam to apply jolt to any target damaged for a short time. Aim down sights to slow the rate at which the battery drains. Translation: when firing Loadstar in hip-fire mode, Loadstar will behave like every other trace rifle, aka a continuous beam of damage. When you ADS though, it fires like a pulse rifle. As you deal damage with the gun, you'll see a meter in the bottom left called Arc Alignment building up. When the meter is full, you can then hold down the reload button, and then when you shoot enemies via the hip-fire beam, it will then jolt all damaged enemies, which is kind of insane. Another fun tidbit about the weapon that we weren't really shown but we were told about, quote, "When ADS'd, anytime you defeat an arc debuffed enemy, they explode into a blinding explosion." I'm gonna go ahead and assume that is the perk we didn't see in column 2. So, the gameplay loop in a nutshell: damage enemies, build the meter, apply jolt via hip fire, then ADS for the kill, free blinding explosion, and repeat. Really weird to think about a primary ammo trace rifle in action, but again, the gameplay loop seems solid and I'm into it. Alright, so because I'll be grinding the hell out of Heresy live on February 4th, wink wink, nudge nudge, I'll take some time now to go over what I think might be some fun exotic armor pairings for these two new exotics so you have an idea of what to fiddle with on day 1. For the Barrow-Dyad SMG, Warlocks, the Swarmers, and here's why. During the stream, Bungie briefly showed us the upcoming artifact, and even though they never hovered over the perk, Unravel Rounds is clearly back on the menu. Shout out to the great Court for spotting that one, by the way. With Unraveling Rounds back, then in theory, picking up an Orb of Power would mean free Unravel Rounds for your strand weapons. With free Unravel, killing enemies with a strand weapon would turn them into a Tangle, and with the Swarmers, destroying a Tangle will spawn a Threadling, which leads to more free Unravel. Fun times. For Titan players, I'm gonna say to try out the Peacekeepers. Remember, with their somewhat recent buff, you get an escalating damage buff on enemies in PvE, which caps out at plus 100% extra damage. We don't know yet if the Peacekeeper damage buff will apply to the Barrow-Dyad's Blight rounds in particular, but if they do, that is gonna be a ton of fun to use. Hunter players, this is not an insanely hard recommendation, but might want to check out the Radiant Dance Machines because they're about to catch a rework. In addition to the free AE buff, multi-kills with primary ammo weapons refund dodge energy. When full, multi-kills grant extra charges. Basically, hunters can stack up a lot of dodge energy, then spam Threaded Spectre clones, which if you remember, are getting a DR buff in Heresy as well. For the Loadstar, I know some of y'all Warlocks out there might be tempted to go Cenotaph, and while that's not a bad choice per se, I think that armor was made to forever be paired with Divinity. I'm gonna go ahead and try out the Geomag Stabilizers, which remember are getting buffed/reworked in Heresy. Its new identity will allow you to top off your bolt charge meter, which remember is a new arc keyword being added this episode. That should be kind of a fun pairing knowing how much arc stuff should likely be coming in the artifact. For the Titan folk out there, try pairing Loadstar together with Hoyle, aka Heart of Inmost Light. Nothing is changing with that exotic, but remember that Titans are getting a new arc aspect, Storm's Keep. Basically, casting your barricade will both give you and allies free stacks of bolt charge, and while behind your barricade, you and your homies get the ability to discharge bolt charge stacks with weapon damage when you hit max charge. Equipping Hoyle means more and better ability spam, them, and therefore more barricades, and therefore more opportunities to take advantage of the Storm's Keep aspect. Hunters, I got 2 Loadstar exotic recommendations for you here, starting with Raiju's Harness. Loadstar seems like it'll allow you to apply arc debuffs to enemies in PvE very easily. So in combination with Raiju, you'd in theory be getting a lot of free extra super energy, which is nice. You could also go with Gifted Conviction. Jolting nearby targets grants you free damage resist, and that should include jolting via any weapon you might have. For example, here it is working with my Volt Shot Ikelos SMG, so there's no reason it shouldn't work with the Loadstar. In short, free damage resist on the regular, yay. If you have any predictions for what the exotic catalyst will be for either of these new exotics, which both have free slots available for a catalyst by the way, let me know what you think those will be down in the comment section. I'll be on the content grind next week when Heresy drops, so be sure to ring the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Thanks very much for watching. Peace!